Now you definitely sing much better than in Spain, definitely. Now today we were seeing this morning the difference of how they sometimes explain to us obvious things that are not that obvious, because when we remember them, we realize that we don't live them. That's what Seneca says, no? And one of the things that we saw this morning, what was it? To sin. Now to sin, we were seeing that St. Augustine said, to sin is to choose the lesser good. And we're seeing some examples on that, which is we were not made to choose evil, but when we sin, we choose things that are smaller than what the Lord wants for us. And that's so important to understand, no? We were also saying this morning, when we sin, when we commit a sin of gluttony, what we do is we choose a lesser good, which is a second brownie with ice cream, which is a lesser good compared to my health. We saw this morning everything. But there's a moment, which is the worst thing, is that when we sin, since we chose something that was smaller, the heart is left with a void. And with that void, we really don't know what to do, because then we start training the heart for slavery, which is just to train the heart for smaller things, and we're made for something so much bigger. And this is the problem, how to solve the void in the heart. And for that, we need the perfect gift. Now, to understand the perfect gift, do you hear me better like this? A little better? Okay, great. To understand the perfect gift, we have to know that the perfect gift is forgiveness. In Spain, Italy, and France, it's very easy to understand, because you get the word gift, you get the word perfect, which is per, and then you get the word gift, which is don. And you get perdón, pardon, perdono, and here we say pardon, right? That's the perfect gift. Why? Because where I messed up, my only chance is for you to love me. Let's understand the structure of a gift to understand the structure of forgiveness, because I think it's really important, no? Thomas Aquinas says there's 3 characteristics in a gift. The first one, a gift, to be a gift, it has to be free. No one can oblige you to give a gift, right? If someone is obliging you, I don't know. If you go with your husband and you pass by a shop and you look at your husband and say, you know, honey, my birthday is in a month. Don't you like those shoes? Is that a gift, yes or no? No. It's a petition. It's not a gift. Okay? For it to be a gift, it has to come from you. Now, I don't know if man in this part of the world, but at least in Spain this happens, no? When your wife comes and says, honey, you are not sensible at all. You just don't care. You never give me a gift. And then the husband in Spain goes like this, huh? And then he goes and buys something, and here, darling. And darling says, no, you give me this not because you wanted to, but because I told you that you have to give me gifts, no? Why? Because we're made like that. So it has to be free. Now there's something that sets you, will set you free. What is that? The truth will set you free, which means with that freedom, it is extremely important that there's a truth. In order to be able to give a gift, you need to know the truth of the person you're giving it to. Normally, those who know you better give you the biggest gifts, no? They nail it. They know exactly what you need. So, it's very important to understand that there are some gifts that are not truly gifts because it's not according to you. That's what we call boomerang gifts, okay? Imagine your husband comes back home and tells you, honey, I bought you this 72-inch wide screen for you to see all of your football matches. Or someone comes and says, I bought you this coffee machine for you. I'm staying just for 2 days here. No, but you're going to love it. Those are called boomerang gifts. Why? Because supposedly they're for you, but in fact it's for me. Okay? Now, in order to know the truth, it's extremely important. Why? Because it's the same with forgiveness. You need to tell the truth. If there's no truth, there's no forgiveness. Would you like to have a fight with someone that you love and for him or her the next morning to come as if nothing had happened? No. Would you like for your husband to come and tell you, this is also very often, no? Comes, sees that you're mad and goes, whatever I did, I'm sorry. Do you like that? No. He's not sorry. He just doesn't want to get in trouble, right? So, what do you need to know? The truth. What would you think if you come to the confessional and you go to the Father, Father, whatever I did, I'm sorry. Does that count? Yes or no? I don't think so. You need to express the truth. In fact, whenever you hide a sin in the confessional, it means you still believe more in your sin than in His love. And there are many ways to fake it, you know. Now, 3 musts that you can't do in a confessional, okay? The first one, you come in and say, Father, my husband did this and this and this and this and this. Why? Because then I will tell you, okay, let your husband come in and I'll give him the absolution. No? Second thing you can't do is, Father, maybe I did this, maybe I did this, and maybe I did this. Because then I will tell you, then maybe I will give you the absolution. And the third, there are people that say, Father, it's been 3 years since my last confession, and I think I have no sins. If you don't know, if you have, let 2 very important things. Okay, please raise up the hands, those who didn't commit a sin during this whole year, during this month. Today, fathers. Nobody. In fact, the Book of Wisdom says, the just sins 7 times a day. And St. John says, if we say that we haven't sinned, we make the cross something useless, and we're calling him a liar. When he ends up this way, it's no joke how much we need to be defended. This is not to blame you, this is to defend you. It is extremely important for you to tell all of your sins, to do a good examination of conscience. So if you think you have no sin, ask your wife. Realize that we all need to go to confession. Why? Because sometimes we're so scared of choosing smaller things that fear has a masquerade. And the mask of fear is called pride. Prideful people are very afraid people. That's why it's so important for us to understand there's nothing to worry about. A priest is here to defend you. You're going to be seated on the throne of mercy. Do not be afraid. Be afraid of going back home with the same sins. Now, when to go to confession? The church says, if you're in danger of death, if you are going to go to Holy Communion and you have a mortal sin, and at least once a year. At least. You know, John Paul II went every 3 days. He went to the confession. Now imagine a gardener, no? A gardener can go to a park once a year, every 3 months, or every 3 days. When would you think the garden will look better? Well, it's the same with us. The Lord wants to keep this as his treasure. You are a treasure. And yes, we make bad choices in life. We choose smaller things. We all need to be defended there. So please, don't fake it. And you will see how loved you are. Now the second thing, Thomas Aquinas says, the only reason for a gift is love. No other reason, just out of love. That's why I am asking you today, do you know why we give roses or flowers as a gift? Do you know why? Because they are useless. Because they are useless. You know, when I was 15, I had a girlfriend. Now I'm a priest, imagine, no? But at that time, I had a girlfriend, and I just didn't understand this. I just said, why wouldn't I give her an iPhone for her to use? Because it's not about using it. It's about saying, I love you. You know what are all of the riches of the Vatican, and people scandalize of the art galleries and everything in the Vatican. Do you know what's that for? It is useless. Because it is not to be useful. It's a shout, a cry of hope for the whole humanity, saying, you are able to generate beauty just out of love, not for it to be useful. Just out of love, you can do so many beautiful things, things that are priceless. I remember I told this in a school, and one of the boys there said, Father, now I understand it. And I said, why? And he said, 2 years ago I had a girlfriend, and I wanted to buy her a ring. And I was working so hard to buy a ring, and I finally got the money to buy a ring. And when I was about to give it to her, she left me. And I said, and what did you do with the ring? And he said, I threw it to the river. And all the class started, but you're stupid. Why didn't you sell it back and go to party? And he turns around and said, you don't understand it, right? It had no value. That's why I threw it to the river, because it had no value. And I told him, well, you really fell in love. To understand that, you must fall in love. To understand that the only reason you're going to be forgiven is because you are loved could be the biggest thing that can happen in your life. Yes, you are loved. Don't fake it. The Lord can love you in a way you cannot imagine. It is not, you know, there's a heresy called moralism. And moralism is the most destructive thing for a Catholic. It is pretend to come here to do good things because we are good people. No, we are not. I am not Catholic because I'm a good lad. I'm Catholic precisely because I'm not. Because I need to be loved, because I cannot do it on my own, because I can't stand a day without His love and His mercy. I didn't come here to tell you I'm the most wonderful priest in the world. I am so holy that I can put my voice like this. No. I can only brag about His mercy. Only about that. It is ridiculous to try to be good people. That's called secularism. That's exactly what they tried, 60 years ago. They thought, it is not that you have to believe in God, we have just to be good people. And you know the song, We Are the World, all those beautiful ideas that they have of saving. After We Are the World, did the world change? Let me doubt it. Because it wasn't precisely Michael Jackson who was going to save us. We really need to understand it's not about being good people. It's about being loved. Because the only thing that can really change your life is love. I have a friend who had a brother who was the most, I don't know how to describe it in a chapel, but he was really so, I don't know how you say it. He was always bad humor, always sitting in a place, always grumpy, not helping in anything. I remember I went to his house and we were going to have lunch and we were saying, why doesn't he help us to set up the table? And my friend, he said, we've tried everything. We've tried shouting at him, trying to be kind, trying to punish him, everything, but he won't move from the sofa. I remember one day, I went to his house, and I look up and I said, is your brother setting the table? And my friend said, yes. What happened to him? And he said, shh, he has a girlfriend. No. For the first time in his life, what nobody could do, only love could. When there was a girlfriend loving him, he was able to move. You won't find a bigger reason than to be loved. People don't need to see you perfect. They need to see you with mortal wounds healed by love. Because once you understand that, you understand that what you chose is so small compared to what the Lord is going to give you, that you won't need to go there anymore. It is not for you to try not to sin. It is for you to forget about sinning because of love. I always put this example. Why don't you think about slapping in the face to your mom? Why did you forget about sinning? Why don't you even think about it? Because you have seen in her so much love for you that you forgot about sinning. Because since you were born, normally when you're that age, very small, sometimes you go to your mom, and slap. But it's because you still don't know. You don't know that much love. With the Lord is exactly the same. The only place you're going to know that love is in a confessional. When you hear, I absolve you, I defend you, it's okay. Now the third reason of a gift is always there has to be someone capable of receiving it. I can be the whole day trying to do like this for you and give you a gift that if you don't take it, there's no gift. And yes, there's a correspondence. Why? Because when I give you a gift, when I give you a pair of shoes, am I expecting for you to go directly to the shop and buy me another pair of shoes and bring them? No. What would be my biggest joy? For you to put your new shoes on. That's it. Now, in this case, in forgiveness, when someone forgives you, when God forgives you, what is it his biggest joy? It is for you to be you again. It is for you to be who you are because he loves what he created. It is for you to forget about your guilt trip. Because sometimes we're more mad because I couldn't achieve it than of the joy of Jesus forgiving us. And if you're mad about you won't be able to achieve it, I'm the worst sinner, that's called false humility. and it's the cousin of pride. It's something that we're not made for. You cannot be night and day blaming yourself. I realized this. I went to Italy once, and I met a priest who died like 6 months ago, more or less, called Padre Pierino. He was 96 years old, and he was 20 years with Padre Pio. You know Padre Pio? Well, and this priest had the same gift of seeing the heart. And I remember I was so pompous and so sure of myself. And he said, "Would you like a confession?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" Mamma mia. Mamma mia. It took me 3 days to recover. 3 days. I couldn't believe it. How much I was faking things. And all of a sudden, I'm falling. I'm still recovering. And all of a sudden, that year, I was so moved that I had to go back the next year. So the next year I go back, and he looks at me and he says, "Would you like another confession?" And I'm like, "Okay, go." And he says, "Do you know what I see?" I say, "What?" And he says, "I see that you're starting to follow Jesus." And I go, whoa, Pierino, wait. Why don't you tell me all of those horrible things you told me last year? Why don't you tell me all of those again? And he looks at me very serious, and he says, "There's only one thing that saddens Jesus more than your sin. It is for you to remember what he already forgave." If you want to come today to the confessional, this is serious. If you want to keep blaming yourself and play the victimist, don't come. No, it's not fair. It's not fair. You need to live. You need to put your new shoes on. You need to start walking. You need to forget about the past. You can't be stuck there. It is about time for you to recover. Because if you want to do a favor back home, they need you restored, not in pieces. They need you back. And there's another way that we need to understand how to receive forgiveness. In our Father prayer, we say it very clearly: "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." There cannot be forgiveness without you forgiving. St. Augustine says, when the Lord wants to pour honey inside of your heart, first you have to take out the vinegar. You cannot allow your enemy to bitter your life. I understood this once. I read in the newspaper, there was an article, a beautiful article of a man whose son was killed by some terrorists. And the title of the article was, "I Necessarily Forgive." So I started to read it, and I was like very curious. And he says, "I am a man of peace. I have 10 children. A terrorist has killed one of my children. If I don't forgive, I allow hatred, rage, despair, and anger enter in my heart. And then the terrorist won't kill one of my children. I will personally end up with the rest of my family. Through alcoholism, through rage, through depression." Can you imagine, once I told this story in a church, and after Mass, there was a man crying outside. And I said, "Enrique, what's wrong?" And he said, "Do you know who you talked about?" I said, "No idea." "You talked about my father. He wrote that article. My brother was a policeman that was killed 2 squares out of here." And I asked him, And did he fulfill his promise? Did he forgive? And he started to cry and cry and cry, looks at me and says, Father, it is the best gift he has given us. It is the best heir he has given us. We learned that nothing is above forgiveness, not even our worst enemies. That has been a lifesaver throughout our lives, he said to me. Yes, everyone commits mistakes, atrocious mistakes. They're not above what you are. And once you discover that, you have to pour it down to Jesus. There's no way we will be able to learn how to forgive without Jesus. It is literally impossible. Some things are so painful that only Jesus' hands in a priest can heal in a confessional. You don't have to manipulate them. Yes, they were hard, but do you know what it is to be set free? Do you know what is not to have an excuse to go back home and telling yourself, I cannot be happy anymore, so I have to pretend I'm never happy, and that's the end of my life. Do you really think that's the end of your life? Your enemy doesn't have that much power upon you. Let Jesus take care of him. Yes, there's a big difference between judging and discerning. Discerning means, yes, you are right. He was wrong. That is something not to do. But judging means he's going to be condemned and he's going to go to hell and this is going to be da da da. That's judging the guilt. And if you remain there, you'll never get out because it's never going to be enough for you. It is so hard to be in that place that you will torture yourself forever. And you are not made for that. We have to take the vinegar out today. Today can be such an amazing day where Jesus can take your guilt out, you can be restored, and everything can truly start anew. You have the right to smile again, to start over, to let go. Some battles we need to know how to lose in order to be able to move. Let's ask Jesus today that this could be the confession of your life. That you can be really restored. That you can say, okay, it's over. It's over. It's good. This life is too short. You're not made for bitterness. You're not made for guilt. Let's start off again through the confession. Remember, in the confessional, it's not Father Michael, it's not Father Patrick, it's not Father Martin, it's not us. It's Jesus in the confessional. He knows, and he has the power through our hands to absolve you. Let's look for this beautiful moment that we're going to have after Sister's talk, and let's prepare for this encounter with him. Amen.